Tensions and rivalries amongst trade unions is intensifying. Not only is it posing a threat to trade relations in the country, it is posing a huge threat to human life, including the members of these trade unions. This house belongs to the chairperson of NUM here in Sebokeng. His house was petrol bombed at 1 o'clock in the morning while his family was sleeping. Lucky enough this time, no lives were lost. Join me in a few minutes. I'll be talking to members of trade unions. They'll be talking to us about why trade rivalry has intensified in this country. Hello there and a warm welcome to People's Imbizo, brought to you by African News Network. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm your host, Audrey Chiwanda, and this time we're coming to you from Sebokeng, and the issue we're discussing, as I alluded to in the introduction, is the issue of tensions and rivalry within trade unions. Is it really for the benefit of the union members, or is there a bigger picture that is playing here? Of course, you're at home, welcome to join in the conversation. Our Twitter handle is @ANN7TV. You can use the hashtag People's Imbizo. We would love to engage you. As usual, I have a panel with me who will be helping us understand the topic at hand today. I'll just quickly ask them to introduce themselves so we can all get familiar. I'll start with you, sir.
Okay, greetings everybody at home. My name is Sebokeng Didedu. I'm the branch chairperson of All Sanitary Wear under the National Union of Mine Workers.
Mr. Litelo, thank you for joining us, and you're welcome to the show. And I think on to the man who really needs no introduction to the show. Captain, please go ahead.
Yes, my name is Captain K. Makuvele from Provincial Police.
Yes, thank you, Captain. And ma'am?
Okay, thank you. My name is Mamiki Time. I'm Regional Chairperson of Women's Structure, NUM.
Okay. I understand you have another hat that you're wearing for us today.
Oh, and again, I'm a COSATU Gender Coordinator.
Perfect. We're also expecting Mr. Themba Makeleni, that's the Media Relations Officer for the National Council of Trade Unions. He should be joining us in a few minutes to add, any kind of value that he can to the discussion today. Of course, we have a panel. Members from different trade unions will be joining us today, and they'll be telling us about their concerns and the extent of this rivalry that we've been seeing amongst trade unions today. I'll start with you, Captain Makubela. In our introduction, we introduced this house here that was petrol bombed. I understand it belongs to the chairperson of NUM branch here in Sebokeng. Was it affiliated to the trade union rivalry? What information do you have about this case?
Well, thank you very much. We are investigating a case of arson, which was opened. The allegation is that the were people who are suspected to be fighting in the union issues, but at the moment there is no one who has been arrested, as we are busy investigating.
Mr. Litelo, why is there so much fighting and rivalry within trade unions as NUM? Of course, other trade unions that are not represented here today, but we've been seeing this being reported, we've seen this happening, lives have been lost. Why is there so much contestation? What is the problem?
Maybe one might say to you, it started way back in 2012. If you remember the incident that transpired in Marikana, the incident that transpired in Kimberley, and the incident that transpired in Carltonville, they all had petrol bombs inside. They all had guns inside. But if you check the whole scenario, there is no way whereby NUM is implicated of killing anyone or injuring anyone, of burning anyone's house. We are a very democratic organization. We try by all means that we stick on our principles. We organize workers, not destroy workers. That's the mandate that NUM carries every day. So surprisingly, we might say it's not a coincidence, in fact, because it happens where AMCO it is and where National Union of Mine Workers it is. Currently, we are at Val Sanitary in Mayerton, whereby this house belongs to the Deputy Secretary of Women's Structure at branch level. We find it as an attack to NUM, not particularly an individual, because up to so far we've reported 6 cases of petrol bombing of houses, and this was the worst house that they happened to petrol bomb. Yes.
And Ms. Teme, would you agree that this contestation started way back in 2012? And if so, what transpired for us to be at this position that we're at today?
AMCO is from NUM. So I think the way I don't know how can I talk about this, or can I talk about the owner of the AMCO?
Yes, oh, absolutely. Just tell us whatever information that you have that helps for us and the viewers at home to understand why there's so much contestation.
Okay. It's because after Matunjwa had something through NUM, because there was a fight between Matunjwa and our national offices. So now that's where he started to open AMCO. So NUM and AMCO are the enemies since from 2012. That's how I know.
I suppose it's no secret that NUM and AMCU are really the biggest rivals when it comes to trade unions. Why particularly those two unions?
Let one articulate like this, whereby AMCU is organizing, it steps on the toes whereby NUM is organizing. Remember, we are organizing in energy, construction, and mining. So that's where the scope of AMCU is directed to. But yet again, let me clarify this. We are not an enemy of any union as National Union of Mine Workers. We are not an enemy of workers, of any sort of workers. We understand the differences of trade unions. That is why NUM has never attacked anyone. I repeat it again, in terms of this petrol bombing and everything. And even our national office has called and it requested that this thing of killing people or petrol bombing people must be dealt with directly by police. It is in our surprise as today the government has then take a stand as to say, maybe, remember a union, the number one thing that the union does is to create a peaceful working place in a working environment, you see. So now, if you look behind me, there is this house. So do you call this a peaceful working place for workers? Our government must take a stand in terms of withdrawing even the certificate of this AMCU union.
So it is your understanding that AMCU is responsible, particularly case in point, this house that was petrol bombed?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we did invite AMCU to be a part of the panel and to give us their side of the story. Unfortunately, we didn't get much joy from them. They were not able to respond to us in time. In fact, we found ourselves in a situation where they're not picking up our calls. Of course, AMCU is still welcome to, give us the right to reply. And of course, everything that is being said here is not the thoughts or any of the views of ANN7 or People's Imbizo as a channel. Captain Wakubela, I'll come back to you. When you see such cases like this, of course, trade unions are saying, look, we're not responsible. Is this particular trade union that's responsible? But how much of it is associated with trade unions that are at loggerheads? In the cases that you have seen?
Remember, we are police, and we do prevent and also make sure that there is law and order maintained in the country. When there are people who are reporting cases, we do take statements, and if there are people who are indicated in the statements, to say these are the people who have committed these crimes, and the people are sure that those people have committed those crimes, then there is no way where we can not make sure that those people are arrested.
Okay.
But if they are hearsays, and the law does not work on hearsays, we do have a problem where people make allegation, but when they're supposed to come forward and make sure that they point out those who have done so, and they are afraid to come forward, because that is where the problem is. You may think that the police are not doing anything. We are willing to make sure that those people who are committing crimes around the area, they are arrested. But the
Captain,
thing
I
is,
love how you've preempted my next question. I know we always argue about how, we have citizens saying the police are not doing anything every time we go and report cases. I suppose it's not the case here today. What I'm trying to establish is, I'm sure part of your investigating is trying to establish the motive of this crime, and that's what I'm trying to understand. Do you get that a lot when you see cases like this? Part of your investigations, does it actually bring the motive out to say this was inspired or motivated by rivalry amongst trade unions?
Yes, indeed, we do. We do know and understand that these are the influence of the the union issues or work in the working environment. But the problem is, from the police side, if such cases are opened, we need the suspect. We need the person who have committed this crime, and that person must be arrested. But if you said it's a particular union, a union, it's an organization. It's not a person, and that's what we are fighting for. We need to know who have committed this crime so that that particular person can be arrested.
Right. And is that part of the show where we go to the audience so we can hear from the horse's mouth how all this rivalry with the trade unions has affected them? Does it have anything to do with them, or is it just trade unions that are just grandstanding on their own? The floor, it is open for anyone who would like to contribute. Are there any member unions? How have they been aggrieved by all this trade unions rivalry?
Good day and thank you. My name is Matapelo Khanye. I'm the regional secretary in the PWV region for the women's structure. It is quite surprising with the response that we get today, because, you know, this is not the first incident, and there might be things that say that AMCU has done this, but allegations were put forward. There were incidents where it was pointed out on what exactly that is happening. I believe that this is not the first incident that has happened in South Africa. That includes AMCU and NUM. And even if the police would say that an organization has been accused, we talk of relevancy. You relate to say, this is what has happened and where. Do we want to see more deaths that has happened in Marikana for the police to act? This is not the first house. This is not the first report. There was another house that was targeted and that was hit with a petrol bomb, and not even one house. Or do we want to react to houses that are completely bent and as this one? If other houses have been thrown with petrol bombs and the damage is not as such, then we do not react as police, we keep quiet. When the branch of Val Sanitary under the logo of NUM went and reported on this particular matter, then it was like those other incidents are now being picked or are now being, you know, taken out to try and match out of this one. Right. It's really frustrating that we have to sit here today and be expected that you should be able to pick a person, whereas there is relevancy to this that has happened before.
Let's try and get to the bottom of the causes of all this fighting that we're seeing within trade unions, be it NUM or be it NUMSA. What is the real problem? But from your understanding, ma'am, perhaps you can just relay that to us.
Unfortunately, the problem or the challenges that are faced with the trade unions, and maybe point off before, I would say, with NUM, we have never been involved in any fight where we fight for membership. Our fighting for membership is through service delivery. And because other trade unions want to be there and forcefully and enforce a fear into individuals, hence there is this other trade union that is currently doing this particular thing. The main problem here is to have more membership.
Right, so that's the bottom line, fighting for membership. The
Yes,
bigger, the better. Okay, let's try and hear from any other members how this is affecting their working environment or their collective bargaining. You know, say if you want to bargain for a raise in your wages and whatnot.
My name is Alina Khemi, a secretary of Ward 2 branch. My problem is one. Over all this thing that had happened, jwalo ka setjhaba, jwalo ka mma setjhaba wa Ward 2, re na le bothata ka ntho ena e etsahetseng ka hara ward ya rona, because we are shocked ka ntho ena e etsahetseng. Ke dintho tse ne di etsahala kgale ka nako tsane tsa apartheid ha no tjheswa matlo, but haeba di-union tshwantse ha di tlo lwantshana, matlo tshwantse a tlo tjheswa je, then ntho ho ba ahi ba Ward 2 e re fa letswalo hore ho sane tla be le o mong hobane ho tla tjheswa e leng hore e haufi le ntlo ya motho o mong, then ntlo le yona e be e tjha. Jwale ke batla go botsa ho batho ba di-union hore maemo a re leng ka hare ho ona hona jwale jwalo ka ha re le bahahi ba Ward 2 ha re dule ha monate. We are shocked.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that contribution, ma'am. I think I'll just come back to the panel now and see if we can get our members here to respond to this. I think as women, I'll come to you, ma'am. You know, they become intimidated. We are perhaps seen as, you know, the most vulnerable people in society when it comes to, you know, being threatened to join a certain trade union that perhaps you do not want to be affiliated to, because one does have a choice to choose which trade union you want to choose. How much of this is impacting women?
Oh. You know, as women, or even in trade unions, it's only NUM who got women's structure. So we as NUM, we developed women's. And again, I wanted to deny the thing that Captain was saying. I'm the first one to be attacked on the 26th of July. The police refused to open a case for me. The second one, they started attacking at Zone 11, my neighbor's house. They thought it was my mother's house, but they attacked my neighbor's house.
And why did you find yourself being a target of this attack, and what kind of an attack was it? Did you also get, you know, in a position where your house was torched? What transpired?
I think because of I'm a regional office bearer. And again, at my branch, they said if they can cut my head, they will NUM it will be dead. Yes, that's why they attacked me. In fact, they want to destroy NUM through me.
And when you say they, who are we talking about here?
Oh, the AMCOS members.
Right.
Because they are the one who makes the intimidation in front of me.
Okay, it goes back to AMCO.
Yes.
Sorry, I just want Captain Wakubele to respond to this. Captain, is there cases that go investigated? Is this the case?
Well, I'm not sure which cases or which case was not open, because I know there are a number of cases which were opened in terms of the attack, where the houses were attacked around the area. We had some where malicious damage to property were opened, where the petrol bombs were thrown in, but it was a roof which was damaged slightly, and the other one, it was some windows where the petrol bomb could not catch fire. But those cases have been opened and they are under investigation. The only problem which we are requesting to our community is to indicate to us who actually have done that. We will not hesitate to go and arrest those people. But the thing is, remember, when the crime is happened, the police are not around, are not there. And there are people who might have seen. If those people, they can come forward and assist with the investigation. We have got no hesitation to make sure that those people are brought to books, because that's a crime.
What I'm hearing from the audience and the people that are telling us of their cases is there seems to be a problem where issues are being swept under the carpet. We're not calling a spade a spade. There's a trade union rivalries that are happening here. Trade unions are fighting, and we seem to not want to call it that. We seem to want to just call it a random crime. So perhaps if it is addressed as it is, then it can be investigated fully. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, you see, as they've indicated, I hear now they are saying it's AMCO and NUM which are fighting, and of which in those unions are human beings who are committing this crime. It's not the organization as such.
So you can't arrest
NUM
as an organization, no. You have to arrest the individual, regardless of the motive.
That offense is the person who must face the law, because that is how the law operates. Okay. We don't just get, let's say somebody will say a certain organization have done so and so. Who's that organization? We know that there are human beings there, but who is the person in there?
That's the person that you go to.
Yes.
Mr. Letelu, would you like to contribute?
In fact, this issue of these attacks and everything, from our side as Val Sanitary, It started on negotiations. The company is negotiating. Now the majority union there is the AMCU. So they haven't reached a consensus yet. But that's for them. But the attacks that are happening to our members, particularly the leadership, it's not a coincidence that you hit a neighbor today with a petrol bomb. Today, the petrol bomb, tomorrow the petrol bomb goes direct to the house where you are residing. Therefore, in few days, a worker goes to AMCO members and tell them, I'm tired of this. My children I'm having high the demands of debits that I have to pay. And then my children are starving at home. Poverty is getting inside the house now. So I cannot wait these guys. I'm going back to work. Then the following day, your house is attacked.
Okay, so we've established that definitely there's a trade union rivalries that,
Yes.
that are happening. That's the motive behind these attacks.
Yes.
But how does it affect the members of these unions? If you have issues to say with the bargaining of wages or working hours, working conditions, and yet there's all this infighting that is happening within the trade unions themselves, how does this benefit the members at all?
It doesn't benefit. It doesn't benefit at all, because currently, as we speak, hence we said NUM is not fighting. And remember, when I started articulating, we said we went out of the company because we were trying to avoid what transpired in Marikana, Kimberley, and everything for the safety of people. So people are affected by debts. Now, if my credits from now on will be over after 6 years. So if I spend 3 months outside without working, remember, for my family to live, I have to work. You see, so for the survival of the family, I have to go and work. Now, the lady goes to work, practicing her democratic right as an individual. Remember, we've got the Bill of Rights here in this country. As to say, I'm leaving for duty. Now, if you go for duty, you find another hooligan coming to petrol bomb your house. Is that the way we are supposed to live in this democratic country? Because we believe that those things happened in 85, probably by then, there were this thing of petrol bombs. But in this democracy, after 23 years of seeing this democracy, there are still these petrol bombs.
Yes.
We are, as NUM, I did tell you that we are not an enemy of any worker. We are not an enemy of any union. We believe that when Marx said workers of the world must unite, we live in that principle. We are guided by the principles and Leninist, by the Marxist and Leninist theory. So we can't in anyhow fight one of our own, because workers are part of us. Because before we are workers, we are members of the community. So we cannot in anyhow as NUM go to any community and start a war there, because we understand that ours is to defend workers at CCMA.
Okay. Let's, just before we go for a break, I just want to hear from you, ma'am. How do you think this issue should be dealt with going forward? All this fighting that we're seeing amongst these trade unions.
I think the national offices must come down to Val Sanitary. AMCO's national offices and NUM national offices, maybe to dissolve these issues.
Has that been tried before, this dialogue that you're proposing?
No, not yet.
So there you have it. We're discussing rivalry amongst trade unions. You're at home. Of course, you're welcome to join in the conversation. We've spoken about the cases that have been noted even by South African Police Service. Captain K. Makubele was here just giving us those details. We've also touched on the causes of this trade union rivalries. Of course, you're at home. I hope you've been joining in the conversation on our Twitter handle at ANN7TV. It's time for a very short break. This is People's Imbizo. After the break, we'll be talking about the consequences of all this fighting that we're seeing, understanding the need of having a recognition and representatives, unions, and the efforts that have been made in this country to make sure that trade unions are recognized and how they benefit workers. It's time for a break. We'll be back.